Welcome, beautiful souls, to another incredible episode of our My Health podcast. I am joined by the most beautiful divine soul, Michael Muir. How are you today, my love?
I'm really good today. Thank you for inviting me on your podcast.
So great to have you here. I have the pleasure of regularly participating in Michael's galactic transmissions, earth grid work, light language, and I have to say it is so phenomenal and so powerful. I was just telling Michael I often go outside, put the headphones in, lay under the stars, and I really go intergalactic. I really go astral. And then I go deep into the earth. We go so many places, Michael, when you guide us on these journeys. And I will put up Michael's website today, also his link to follow him on Facebook, because I highly recommend getting involved in his transmissions. They're often on the equinox or specific sort of, high resonance, high energy points, but you're being guided more and more, Michael, you were saying, just to do them more regularly as well. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the work that you do, and explain a little bit more about some of the other services that you offer.
So I started my journey, I think about 95, 96, and I started doing personal development workshops, including the body. So I really got into the somatic experience of the body and the mind. And then I decided to do my own therapy training, so I trained as a somatic psychotherapist, which is basically very aligned with the yogic kind of movement. So very sort of integrating the body in and the mind and the connection between the two. And I was quite disconnected from my body when I first started doing my personal work. So really having anchored into the body more, I think that's when the galactic stuff came through, because I was more grounded. So I studied somatic psychotherapy. I did my own somatic psychotherapy as a client, and it brought me much more into myself, felt more anchored in my heart, more grounded. And during the 4-year training as a somatic psychotherapist, when I was doing the hands-on component of the body work, strange sounds started coming through when I was touching people. And this was around 2004. So this was before sort of Facebook was really going. This was before people were talking about light language. This was way back when there was just not much coming out and about light language. So I kind of left it alone because nobody knew what it was, and it felt a little crazy, and it felt like very intense, and I don't think I was grounded enough to work with it back then. So I kept continuing my own personal work. I studied with some Tibetan Buddhist teachers. So I was doing a lot of deity practices, sort of Green Tara, Vajrapani, other different deities. So deity practices where you would embody the deity as part of the sadhana practice. So I felt like that in itself, you're sort of almost channeling the deity when you're doing these practices, and you're embodying the energy of the particular deity in the practice of the Tibetan Buddhists. So that sort of opened, I think, some of the channels for me to start channeling. And then around 2013, 2012, I started looking online. I just got the guidance to start looking about light language, and I found a couple of people, one in Australia, one New Zealand, that were working with light language. I found that term. I started listening to other people's transmissions, and it kind of opened me further to my light language, and sort of, I guess, gave me confidence to start bringing it out into the public. I was already running bodywork groups, so somatic bodywork groups in Sydney at the time. So I started just bringing a little bit of the energy of light language into the sessions. And so light language, for people that aren't sure what it is, it sounds a little bit like gobbledygook. to the ordinary ear. It doesn't sound like a foreign language or a galactic language even. And some people that may have heard it in the Christian context of talking in tongues, and some people would say that's the same as light language. So, but basically, it's some people, not everybody, but some people that have done this, I feel, in other timelines, so past lives, for example, when they open up their channels, they start to be able to channel in this sort of different frequency, this different sound. And I feel like it's, say, for example, to me, it just feels like I just turn my attention to the light language, and it's like, say, instead of speaking in English, I'm speaking in Italian, but it just doesn't. But it's not a language that is of this earth. And really, for people, when they listen to light language and when they're working with light language, I feel it's really about just letting it wash over them, their mind, their hearts, their bodies, and really just let it do what it does. Everybody has their own experience of it. It's not for everybody, but if you have connected with it in past lives, or you are sort of opening up to a bit more galactic nature, then I feel like it helps to open the light body. It helps to expand the consciousness of the chakra system, and it helps you to connect up higher with your astral chakras, so that you can become that conduit from heaven to earth, which I feel like we've been called to do, to anchor in more of the galactic frequencies, to shift the consciousness of the planet. That sort of 3D to 5D stuff. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. And would you recommend that people do chakra work, as in opening the 12 chakras? We're used to the 7 main chakras that are more governing the etheric body and into the endocrine system within the physical body, as well as connecting us obviously to that universal realm. But the more the universal, star, galactic chakras, is that what you would guide people to do, Michael, if they want to start receiving, say, guidance from the galactics, or even start to do their own light language?
I think if you want to do your own light language, I think hang around with people that do it. So whether it's online or whether it's personally in a group, I mean, obviously energetic in group format is always, because I'm from that somatic background, that body background, I really do love doing group work face to face and in person, but not necessarily needed these days, especially with all the restrictions and stuff. You can do it online, but I feel like it's sort of like, you become the conduit for change. Yeah. So if you hang around with someone that's opened their astral chakras and working with their galactic connections, then if you hang around with them, you will do that. And you can do it sitting in a coffee shop, having a coffee and talking about yoga, or you can do it through energetic transmissions, doing my transmissions where it's light language and connecting in a more overt way. But I still feel, so for example, in Sydney, the people that I've worked with in group over the 6 years or so, 8 years that were regular, a number of them started spontaneously opening up to light language within themselves. So I think if you're drawn to it, as a modality, it could potentially mean that at some point you may also open up to it, and not to be scared of that, it is a bit kind of strange in the worldly sense. It's not something a lot of people know about. So it is, and I make an analogy of coming out again, like, because it's like I had to come out when I was a gay kid in the north of England, then I had to come out again as a light language channel. So it was the same sort of deal, something that's a little bit different, to heard. But then I think that in itself,
courage in coming out, because we need beautiful. Yeah.
So I think it sort of does. I think some of us have had experiences in our life where we've been different or felt separate. And this is allowing us to sort of go against the mainstream narratives right now and expand out of that herd consciousness and stand on our own sovereignty,
Oh, that's beautiful. I find for me, when the light language, I've only started doing it, say, in the last, I don't know, 12 months, but I find it comes through with this urgency. It's like this
Yeah.
impulse that's coming through me,
Yes.
and it has to be
Yes.
spoken. And for me at the moment, it's only, I'm only speaking to myself, or my galactic self is speaking through me to myself, or my
Yes.
dog is benefiting. So my dog's probably going, you know what, you're finally making sense. So, yeah, but it's really beautiful. I did actually, no, I have to say, I did actually do it with my mum as well, and I just got her, she's a healer, and I just got her to tune in, and she started to speak the light language, and she
Wow.
sounded like an ancient Chinese woman. It was really fascinating what came through her. She's an Australian white lady. So, yeah, who are the Galactics in a general sense? I know that there's so many different star races, but who, if we could just make it like black and white for everyone, if that's a possible thing,
Yeah,
grounded
yeah,
down.
yeah. Yes.
Who are the Galactics, and who also is the Galactic Federation of Light? Because everyone's heard that term and no one's really
Okay.
quite sure.
So I just to flick back to your mum for a second, though, I feel like um, I feel like language can come in different forms, yeah, and I feel like when we're channeling, I think often as channels, which ties into the galactic stuff, we are channeling aspects of ourselves in a different time. So I don't feel like we're channeling people. Like, some people get a little bit nervous. Oh, how do you know that the energy is not of the dark? How do you know that this isn't a nefarious energy that is dangerous, that is corrupted or whatever? And I always say, trust your heart. Trust your heart when you're channeling. Trust if you're doing it in with people. Trust that people are benefiting. If you look for the evidence that you're benefiting people. You know, if you're not sure. I think also when you're doing it, you practice with people, like you practice with your mum, practice with people, normalize it. Some people do it very much for the earth. So they talk to the trees, they talk to their the oceans, they talk to the land, and it's very healing for the earth, and it's very private. And then other people are guided to work with it in group or wherever. So I think it's a very personal experience, and some people work with it in one-on-one healing capacity, sort of hands-on with other sort of modalities. So I think it's a very personal thing. For me, when I started channeling, I didn't really know who it was. I didn't know it was galactic. It would come through really fast, like you were saying. And so it took me a while. And it's almost like the light body, the third eye, the astral stuff has to really integrate the experience to the point where you can start to understand. I don't understand syllable what it means, but I get a very strong knowing of what energies I'm channeling and what the use of it is for, especially if we're in a group context. But that has evolved over time. And in regards to the Galactic Federation, I would just say that this is a collection of different beings that are benevolent. I think that's the most important piece to say, that they're benevolent beings that are here holding space for the earth. Yeah. So for example, Palladian, Arcturian, Syrian, Andromedan, and numerous other energies. Yeah. And these beings are from different galaxies. Sometimes we don't have a name for them, for some of these beings in a 3D sense. But I feel like just to trust in your own guidance, if you start to connect with some of these energies, and people talk about star seeds, and star seeds are, I guess, I feel like we're all star seeds, really. So we've all come from the stars and been anchored our souls into the physical through our current bodies. But some people remember that they're also have had off planet incarnations. So I feel so that's a star seed. So some people will remember that they've had a strong connection to the Palladians, or strong connection to the Syrians or Arcturians or whatnot. And I feel that for myself personally, when I began, I connected very strongly with Palladian energy. And Master Thoth, so Atlantean Egyptian, and they were the two main dudes. Yeah, they were the two main energies that I connected with. And I feel like it's like you go on your own journey with light language. You go on your an awakening and opening up to different frequencies. I think partly it's who you hang around with and who you connect with opens you up to a different Wi-Fi signal almost, if you know what I mean, in your pineal. So you're kind of tuning into different frequencies. But I do feel they're all part of our own soul and our own teams that support us from up above, that are coexisting really in a different realm. So it's sort of like we're here on the earth, but there's an aspect of us who is helping us from another time or another place. And that's what I feel like the Galactic Federation of Light are here for. They're here to connect with the ground crew, if you will, and us as 3D conduits bring in energies to support the shifting consciousness. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that answers it so beautifully. And thank you for making the distinction about the benevolence of the Galactic Federation of Light, because a lot of people want to, and maybe they're a little bit more anchored in 3D and black and white and can't see the textures between the different dimensions. But they often like to say that we're invoking this dark energy and it's a psyop things. But the way I sense it is just like humans. There's some benevolent humans and there's some malevolent humans. And it's the same with galactic realms. And of course, there are malevolent star beings. You know, we can talk about the Zeta Reticuli, not all of them. No, I'm not saying all of them are, but there's some. We have a sense that some of them streaming through what's playing out on the earth at the moment, the Draco reptilians, you know, all of these entities, again, some of them are beautiful beings and are helping the consciousness. You might say their service to others as opposed to that service to self polarity. And so sometimes we need to just simplify it down. Okay, what do I feel when this energy comes through? The other night, I actually spoke to a grey alien. I said, look, I don't really want to speak to you. I'm not, you know, I don't align with what you're saying. But it was very important for me. They kept saying, no, it's very important because you actually see us clearly and you understand the polarity between light and dark and how the dark and light have to interact in order to elevate consciousness. And so I listened to what they had to say. And that was a new experience for me because normally I go flick, you know, get out of my
Yeah.
What about you, Michael? Have you had some of the darker energies come through that you've listened to, that you've learned from?
I haven't had a personal experience with the grey so much, but I do feel that like when I've been in group work, sometimes nefarious energies sort of trying to hijack a little, and I just really come back to my heart, you know, and to try. It's really like anything that's going on in the earth right now, whether it's this kind of scenario or whether it's a different kind of potential polarization. I feel like we've just got to really go within and trust our own truth, you know. And if you don't feel comfortable to channel that energy or connect with that being, your personal choice. But at the end of the day, like your interaction with the grey, I think it's about developing a deeper trust, and that really we're in this earthly realm to dissolve duality, but in the process there is polarity of dark and light, and it's not to be afraid of that, but it's to work on harmonization, you know, internally. So if we're fearful of something, I guess like a dark agenda or a dark alien or something, then we kind of push it away, and push away maybe some of the darkness of our own shadow. So I feel like it's about just being okay with it all, really, and
I agree.
you know what I mean, and not to sort of go down a dark path, but to be open to what comes, you know, and that it's all a teaching, you know.
Yes, and I totally agree, and I see it as an activating force because, as you say, we don't choose to go down the dark path. We're not dancing with the devil, so to speak, but we are seeing how they are activating our super nature, and from that non-dualistic or singularity perception, there's even, and people may not understand this, but there's even gratitude towards those beings because if we look at what's happening Earth side at the moment,
Mm.
there's
Mm.
so much darkness encroaching that it
Mm.
is activating people into
Totally.
maybe new communities or
Yes.
connecting to the galactic realms, are seeking
Yes.
guidance from
Yes.
future time, as we might say, is the galactic self. That's
Yes.
speaking back. Still self
Yes.
in the now moment, but it has a different vista, maybe a different
Yeah.
perspective
Yeah.
on what's
And I
going
think
on.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel totally, and I think that part of this play out that's going on right now, it is awake. Obviously, it is. Regardless of intention, there is an awakening of people. The consciousness, the acceleration of the energies coming in is happening regardless of what's happening every day on the earthly realm. So, um, you know, there is, and also within the context of that, there are like, I know people may have heard of energies such as reptilian energy, for example, and even some of those guys are changing teams, if you will. So it's not all as it seems. There's layers. There's good and bad. There's people swapping teams. There's all sorts of business going on. So it's sort of like trust. It's like I feel like it all comes back to trust and faith within with our own energy, with our own hearts, with our own sovereignty at this time, and people are cracking in the mainstream, in the I guess, seeing things differently, and obviously that can create a little bit of chaos in people's lives at times, and so I feel that in itself is where we've been guided to step up as a community and hold space for people that are just newly awakening to some personal truths or some collective truths. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it, Michael. It's so important what you just said, that it's some of those beings that we may
Mm.
automatically just throw into the dark basket, even they're
Mm.
evolving and possibly
Mm.
changing teams. So it
Mm.
does, as you said, it comes down to that personal sovereignty, and
Mm.
personal frequency is everything. And it's interesting because the last few days I've felt that really deep 3D struggle where I'm like, come
Mm.
on, Galactics, take me. Where's the mothership? Like, beam me up, I'm ready.
Mm. Yeah.
And the narrative or the
Yeah.
download that I received back that was,
Mm.
carry your frequency. Well, you'll only take your own frequency. Even if you go off planet, you'll only take your own frequency. So it actually doesn't matter where you are, wherever you
Mm.
find yourself in the whole cosmos, in the whole galaxy,
Yeah.
I'll still have my own frequency. It's like people
Yeah.
who travel, they think things will be better when they travel or they move
Yeah.
house or they the country. It's like, no, you still find yourself there.
Yeah.
Because actually it's all internal, it's all
Yeah.
within. And it
Yeah.
was kind of comical. And I find my galactic team are especially funny. Like, they're always joking and laughing. And I'm like, helping me to rearrange things, see it from a different perspective, and
Mm.
really assisting me to laugh at myself. So most of the time it's just hilarious. But that's what they said, was, you're only going to find yourself there. Yeah, you can go back to Andromeda, but you're still going to be you there. That frequency that you're carrying, you need to upgrade it yourself wherever you find yourself.
And this is why I think certain things haven't happened to bail us out of this scenario. You know what I mean? Even though we're all kind of getting frustrated, and when's something going to happen, and when's some disclosure is going to come out, and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like at the end of the day, this is we need to transcend collectively and on the ground level. And I feel like we've been put in this pressure cooker situation collectively to kind of raise our frequency and gain our inner strength and resolve. Yeah, we save ourselves. So I feel like it's sort of like a global initiation, I feel. And I don't. So I mean, there's sometimes where I think, gosh, why don't they just come and burn off some people? The Galactics come off and burn off the bad guys. But it doesn't look like it's happening. It looks like we have to work it out for ourselves, and that's the initiation of this time, just to step up and hold our own.
Because it's a full spectrum. It's not as easy as there's dark guys on one end of the spectrum and light guys on the other end of the spectrum. There's so much texture and grey area in between. And so yeah, it's just not as easy as we would sometimes
Yeah.
like. Get rid of them or we'll carry on. And because they are us and we're integrating those darker aspects within ourselves. So like anything, it's a consciousness journey, and the only power we have is the power over our own internal frequency and our own internal resonance. And some people attempt to bypass that, believing that if they have a dark thought, if they have low vibration emotions, that's wrong, that they should always be up and love and light.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pressure in itself.
I think that's and the psychotherapy side of stuff. So working with people in counseling for many years, really sort of working with accepting and allowing everyone's individual kind of rawness to emerge. I feel like it is about the integration of the self. And so if we're kind of pushing aspects away, trying to just be all love and light, I feel like it is a bit of bypassing and not really going to that deeper level, which will anchor us into more of our strength if we process some of the darker stuff within ourselves, or the unprocessed emotions or whatever. So I think, and that's, I guess, making us the clearer conduit. And that's really the transmission work that I do, is to bring through light and clear our conduits so that we can anchor it individually into the earth and support that new earth frequency lifting up individually, but also, you know, as conduits, bringing and anchoring, like being the rainbow bridge from heaven to earth, bringing it all the way through and popping it down on the grid, you know.
Beautiful, Michael.
Yeah.
I just want to say too about the Palladian energy that you referenced, because we're Australians and our original people will tell us that we are from the stars, exactly what you said earlier, and they believe we're all hybrid Palladians. So we all have that special connection. I know you've been to Uluru. I was at Uluru on the 21st of December last year for the Magic Box activation, you know, part of that energy of funneling so many, like up to 15 million people apparently, and it could be more, we don't know, around the world, but doing group meditations in different areas and funneling that energy in. And it's almost like that cloaking of the skies peeled back, and we could see the ships in the sky as clear as anything. I know some people, I can see people who are on here now. I know some people here that are commenting also regularly see ships. So some people have that automatic opening and awareness. Let's chat about just your personal description of what the upgrade from 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness is all about. How is Mother Earth herself, as a full celestial body, making that transition? And I'm going to say we have the choice to go with her or go around for another galactic cycle in 3D. But I'd love to hear your personal view and download on what that is about.
I better take a breath before I answer that one.
Just a small little question for you, Michael.
So what to say? Okay, so I feel like the ascension of firstly, the Mother Earth piece, the ascension of Earth is happening anyway. Yeah, I feel like I actually feel since the beginning of March 2020, the beginning of the whole virus narrative, you know, there has been a very extensive accelerated frequency coming in to our planet, and that has been getting stronger and stronger. And there's also because there's less I guess movement on the ground, I feel like it's actually hitting the ground more as well, and there's less static from all of us doing our thing on the earth, because we're not doing as much right now. So I think that she's accelerating, she's ascending anyway, yeah, through the photon belt. Like we're into this new 26,000 euros 26,000 year cycle. So it's just the beginning in our lifetime. It is just the beginning of this transcendence to the fifth dimension. Yeah. So I feel like she's going to do it anyway. Yeah. And we are because we are connected as one, really, as she purifies, as she purges, as she enlightens herself, we go through the same process, whether it be psychologically, through our mind, clearing and releasing old limiting patterns, whether it be through purging of the old density within our chakra systems. It's all that old talk, well, not, that's been around for a little while, going from carbon to crystalline, yeah? So my take is that for us, I don't think we're going, I don't feel like there's going to be, personally, I don't feel like there's going to be a bifurcation of the worlds where there's two separate earths or two separate types of tribes, if you will. I feel like we're all here, so we'll all be given the opportunity of this shift in acceleration. Some people may go with it more than others. Some souls may decide to part at this time because the frequency is just too high and they've done what they needed to do this time. So they may pass in a myriad of different ways. Yeah. So that could be the case. But it's about us uplifting our energy. It's about us uplifting our light and becoming more light in light. So be able to hold more light. And I feel like that's what many of us are doing right now, is expanding our light, being able to anchor more into the earth to support the new frequencies coming in. And that is a very physically organic process. So moving from the third to the fifth is a very physical experience because we're asking our body to lose density. So, and we're clearing energies and we're releasing a lot of karma from many old timelines. A lot of the Armageddon timelines, I feel, have been triggered up within the collective right now so that we can release them and no longer carry those stories forward. Of course, there's energies that wish to perpetuate that forever and ever, but I think people are shifting and it is releasing from the collective consciousness. So we don't have to recreate Lemuria, the fall of Lemuria, the fall of Atlantis, any of that sort of jazz. So I feel like, but in a nutshell, I feel like the shift is a very physical one. Shifting our light, clearing our body, and as the earth lifts, we lift. So that's why so many people are feeling so much right now, because they're releasing like eons of energy that needs to go so that we can move collectively into a new cycle. But I think that's going to be a little bumpy for a little while, because as the energy rises, it sort of shakes out the density. And I think that's what's happening, and that's what's continuing to happen. So people could feel a little disorientated, a little bit, who am I? What am I doing here? I think that's very normal and part of the process as we shift into another octave. And I think we are given just what we can handle, I think what the accelerated energies that are coming in, filtered through, I feel, our sun, but also I think benevolent galactics are sort of making sure that it's not too much for the physical vessel. I think so they sort of stream it in, and then we go through a process. And as we get, as the energies get faster and faster, we go through these cycles quicker and quicker, and we're needing less sort of downtime, and we're just been moved up. So I think it's a stepping up from here to here, and that means physiologically letting go of beliefs, as the earth shifts and purges her density as well, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you describe it so beautifully. And I really feel that people like Michael are so important at this time. I was saying to you before we went live, like, to me, you're like one of the new earth leaders, because we need conduits like yourself who can almost translate what's happening in those galactic realms and bring it into a very grounded, digestible sort of nuggets of truth. So people who are going through that upgrade, it's not too much of a stretch for them. It's not too woo-woo for them. Yes, we're woo-woo. Yes, we're going into those realms, but it's necessary to get to where we need to go. As you said, we're losing density. That's a perfect way to describe it. So we're literally shedding a three-dimensional density layer in order to move to that fifth dimensional consciousness, that pure unconditional realm of love and joy and forgiveness and compassion. And that's no that's no easy feat, is it? But it can be easy if we just stay anchored and present in the moment and do what we're being to do. Yeah,
and that's where I feel like the my somatic training, and I do yoga every morning. I feel like it's really important to support the physical body right now, and because these energies are so high and accelerated, we do need extra to support extra grounding. You know, supporting and diet may change while we're going through ascension symptoms. You may need to lighten your diet. Some people may need to eat more protein if it anchors them and grounds them more. It really depends on your own again, coming back to your own individual body and what it needs, because it will change. Yeah.
So we've got a comment here referencing Stonehenge and Glastonbury.
Mm.
For you, Michael, when I've done transmissions with you, we often go to sacred portals and draw the energy in. So what are the sacred portals? How do they allow that galactic energy to come through into the grid lines, song lines, dragon lines of Mother Earth? Can you describe that process for us?
So basically, I never really thought I would do earth work. I never thought that was something that was within my scope of channeling. Really, when I started, I was really doing clearings of the light body and chakra system to help people release density and open. And then over the time, the earth work came into the transmissions. So I would, and I feel like the grid points such as Uluru and Glastonbury, if you will, or Stonehenge, I feel like these are vortexes of energy, yeah, that are higher points. And I think these have actually I feel that these have been set up by galactics in the past, yeah. These have been set up as the grid that goes around the Earth. They've had these power points. And I think this is where these galactics can sometimes come in as well to the earthly realm. But this is also it's like a power portal, powerful energy. So if you're there, you're more switched on, you're more aligned, and you can bring through more energy, and then you can pass it through the earth, the grids. So when I'm doing transmissions, for example, we may go to Uluru or we may go to Stonehenge, and it feels like sometimes it's to release energy, sometimes it's to clear, sometimes it's to bring energy through the grids and link things together. So I feel like these are power points where the energy is higher, so you could get downloads yourself if you're in those locations, about your own path, about where you're at. You could get some galactic sort of establishing some galactic connection. But I think something that's really important is to say that there are many points around the Earth that are hotspots. Some of them are known and some of them aren't. Some of the known ones are very popular, so the energy shifts if there's been a lot of people to those locations over time. And sometimes there's hidden ones. And so just because something's well known and really powerful, it doesn't mean that you couldn't go to somewhere that seems like just an ordinary piece of land, but suddenly you're really switched on and you're really energized. And so that in itself is a very powerful point. And I would just sit wherever you are and really just align with the energy and just get guidance of what to do. Because I never really thought I would be doing land work or grid work. And all I do is listen and do what they tell me and say, let's go here, let's go there, let's do that. And to sort of anchor in frequency. And I think we are here to anchor in these little, these pillars of light through ourselves and through our energetic awareness that are establishing almost like a new system that's going to hold the higher frequency. Yeah, it's sort of it's us. We are the new Earth grids in our own beings, bringing the energy through. But we're also establishing a new system. I feel, yeah.
I love it. It makes so much sense. And we look at macrocosm, microcosm, of course, we ourselves in our own physical vehicle, we have our own trigger points or mama points, we might call them from the yogic perspective. We have our own meridian lines or nadis. We are a crisscrossing energetic network system ourselves, chakra points of like portals of energy. So as within, so without, it's all mirrored, isn't it? So for people who may not be able to see it in that more quantum sense, just regard your own physical being as a microcosmic reflection.
And to really notice, like, if you go, like, for example, I went to Uluru before I was really into working with the land or anything like that, and I got a massive solar plexus clearing, and the energy at the Uluru grid point is the solar plexus of the Earth. Yeah. So if you go to if none of this resonates that I've just said, just go to an area and get curious about what happens in your body. Let your body guide you. See what moves. See what feels like it's switched on or feels pain or is releasing something. And you are doing grid work through your organism. You're clearing the land and you're connecting. So keep it really simple. It doesn't have to be hard work,
Yes. And perhaps where people aren't trusting is that they say to themselves, who am I to be intuitive? Who am I to be psychic? Who am I to even have a star family galactic team? Who am I? Where often humans are playing themselves into the little I all the time instead of expanding the consciousness into the I am presence. I am creator, source energy, experiencing my own creation. And I guess when you make that leap of faith, when you just anchor that you can't be separate from all that is, then it starts to explode through you. And I guess for people who are learning to trust those unseen realms, once you trust it, and even if you have to play with the imagination, because often it'll come through the imagination. So you play a game with yourself. I'm just gonna trust this. I'll just see where it goes, and then there'll be some confirmation that actually that was correct. And so it goes from there, doesn't it, Michael? Then we start getting it coming in more and more, and until really we're in. Well, for me, I feel like I'm in a constant dialogue. I live alone just with my dog. I'm in a constant dialogue with star beings. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I really can't take anymore, guys. Off you go. So that happens. Sometimes go, look,
I have to shut off at times. Yeah, definitely, especially in the evening, when I'm in bed. But I think I feel like I just wanted to say on that point that it is about. I mean, my background initially, I'm from England originally, and I studied medical microbiology at uni. So I was a scientist back in the day, before I started studying therapy stuff. And so I do like to do my research. I do like to, do my fact checking, before I actually believe. And I think it's only through working with people, seeing shifts in them, and getting some external validation of this is real, I think you got to build the trust, and it does take a little time. And it's sort of like any new skill. It's kind of, you got to build and trust that it's safe, that you're grounded, and that it's sort of supporting either yourself or others. And so I feel that if you sort of just slowly move in, just take your time, I think more will unfold, more will be given to you, more knowledge will be imparted. You'll be able to hold more light, and then your kind of work shifts and wanders with that sort of shift in frequency, I guess.
Yeah, love it. So, Michael, I'll also just say to anyone, if you've got any questions for Michael, just because we're starting to come to the end of time, just pop your questions in now. But I would like to explore what you spoke about before, about that apocalyptic energy that's coming through because of those Atlantean Lemurian times.
Yes.
You mentioned before one of your first transmissions or first channelings was from a Atlantean Egyptian soul, I think you said. What can you impart for us all, how to clear that energy, but also what is that about? I know I have big wave dreams, and it's a really foreboding feeling, and it's been a recurring dream my whole life, that foreboding feeling of we failed, and I turn around and there's the big wave, and I know this is it.
So so many of us have been had many lifetimes on the earth, and if we, there's some beliefs that the earthly realm is an experiment. Yes, an experiment of how to be in how soul can be in a 3D vessel. Yeah. So different colonies have been on the earth over time, and they have tried to ascend. And as they have tried to ascend, there's at times there has been obviously, like, which mirrors this time we're in now, right? Where there's been a bit of a battle between energies that want things to stay the same, and they will use different technologies for that purpose, and energies that wish the earth to transcend. And so in many times, I think we feel like we've had a similar mission in our soul, where we've been here to support the shifting of the earth's consciousness, and at other times it hasn't worked. Yeah. And so there has been floods, or there's been a planetary explosion or something, and so there's been quite dramatic effects that have kind of wiped out the majority of that population. So that still sits within us, in our cellular matrix, in our Akashic records, if you will, in our DNA. This light that is coming in is inviting us to clear those energies that we of remembrance of those times. I think part of the outplay of what we're in right now is to trigger us into remembering those energies so that we can release them. So not going into the fear of, it's the end of the world or blah, blah, blah. And so there's triggers there, of course, because of what's going out on. And I feel like we are clearing these energies so that we don't either create them as a collective again through our intention, or so that because now this new 1,000-year-old cycle is inviting us to find a whole brand new way. So that means dumping all these Armageddon timelines and not staying in the fear of that it's going to happen again. Now, there's some energies right now that wish for us to go right down that route and believe that it's about to happen again. And so it is up to us to say, no, that was before. This is not where we're headed this time. We can ascend safely, and we will get there. And the more of us that hold that intention and light, the less drama there's going to be now. Yeah. But it's hard because it's easy to get caught and go down a pothole right now because of everything that's going on in the world. I do it, just by looking on Telegram, but but so there's a lot out there that wants to keep us on mainstream TV, but also in the alternative media sources. So there's a lot that wants to keep us contracted. So it's and I feel like my work, I feel, is to obviously not be in denial of what's going on in the world, because there's a lot going on, but also to stay in the transmission work and the light work and the energy work, to bring through this light, to help people stay open, expanded, and bring through the light. And the rest can sort itself out, you know? You know what I mean?
Yes, I'm just like, applause. That is it. And again, to reiterate, this is why people like Michael are so, I don't want to say needed to put pressure on you, Michael, but I'm trying to pull down another word, but yeah, revered and yeah, you're just so masterful, particularly in what you just said. And I hope everyone really hears what you just said, because it's up to us to hold that frequency. Because even in the alternative media, there's a lot of fueling of the negative. And like every day, so many people, and I know they're good souls with great intentions, but they're sending me dramatic videos every single day. Like, I got my information, well, I mean, I'm in alternative fields for a long, long time. I was born very psychic and mystical and connected, and I've definitely gone off the rails and then got myself back on track, and worked in a consciousness arena for over 2 decades. And 2020, I definitely needed to delve a little bit deeper, because of the dramatic event, the whole world being shut down. So, of course, on the investigative journey to find out who are these players, who are these characters, who's behind the shadows, what's going on. But for me, now that I have that information, I don't need to keep fueling it. I'm in the rabbit hole. I'm grateful for all of that. I'm grateful for the researchers and the activists and the truthers. Some of them I'm aligned with, as long as it has that component to it that sees the bigger picture. This is why we need the galactic information. We need to see it from a higher dimension. We need to understand what this opportunity truly is all about. Yeah.
And I think I think it's really important, because souls have different roles to play right now, you know.
Yeah.
And I really revere the truthers and those that wish to unveil what is unseen. And but that's not my path. And if I sort of stayed too much in that, I would go off on a tangent and not be able to bring through the frequencies that I've been asked to bring through. So I think everyone is divinely guided. And of course, there's days where I will check out, 3 videos and sort of get a bit anxious and get distressed about the state of the world. But then, you just have to come back into alignment again. And and I don't think anyone in this timeline isn't knocked off center at times, but just to remember to come back and find your ground.
Yeah, and as we spoke about earlier, to see it in its true brilliance and perfection, that it's an activating element. It activates the supernature. It activates the choice to move into the 5th dimensional frequency. So it's playing a perfect role when you have the eyes to see it in that way. So yeah, I'm loving this conversation. So someone did mention that our feed was messed with. Now, that has been happening to me a lot. So I don't know what, because we're streaming through a few different sites. And that's part of that nefarious play that's going on. And once upon a time, you would have thought you were paranoid, thinking you're being shut down and censored, all of these things. And now it's like, wow.
Is it coming in and out? Is it for people a little?
I'm not sure. It must be back on, because the comments have all started up again. But yeah, it's very fascinating just watching that, for want of a better 3D term, that dark side, that nefarious energy, really wanting to kind of poke the bear all the time.
Yeah. And also,
and for me, because it's happened to me so much, Michael, over the last 12 months or so.
Wow.
Even the other day, sending just a simple EDM, like an email marketing campaign, I immediately flagged, and my whole account actually got down. People have been listening to our podcast now, because I've been explaining along the way what's happened. We've had websites hacked, had social media shadow ban, YouTube videos deleted. And I feel it's useful to speak about, not because I'm a victim, I'm certainly not a victim, but more so that we have to be aware of what's happening. And again, use it as that way to say, are you going to allow that energy to shut you down? For me, I know I've got a lot of throat chakra energy going on. So every time that happens, if I chose to let that force win and shut my voice down, then I've given my sovereignty, as you've been so beautifully referring to, I've given my sovereignty, my power over to that, as opposed to saying, you're just playing your role, that's fine, but I'm going to be king. And, you know, these are the great opportunities that are there for all of us. And this is the way also to shift out of victim consciousness into gratitude that all of this is happening, because we just keep, as I say, engaging our supernature and rising even further. So powerful. Yeah. Oh, here's a comment. Yeah. It had dropped out. That's okay. It'll be on replay, everyone. Hopefully it's streamed well through YouTube. Otherwise I'll re-upload it. The frequency can go so high. You would have once thought, oh, it's just high frequency energy, and it just messes with the with the trans. I know. It's like, these guys might be talking about something that we really don't want to get out there. And so yay for us, Michael. High vibrations. But darling, just because we're coming to the end of time, here's a little something just for you. Hello, Michael. I had a friend who used to talk in tongues, and I never knew it was light language. I was raised in a religious cult that spoke about that as evil and witchcraft. Yes, Tina, thank you so much. What a great
so I mean, I feel that I think that's an important point, because I know I've had people in groups when I was running groups in Sydney that also had a little bit of concern and a little bit of that had stuff from saying it was dark and it was negative and witchy growing up, and so I think that is just a layer of a veil that needs to be worked with till you feel safe. And I think that only works through the experiential experience of working with someone with light language to feel that it is of a benevolent nature. It's like any programming, really. We get told what is good and what is not. And then this time of coming back to self and our own truth and really feeling what is right. And if you connect with the light language channel, then it feels like it isn't a benevolence to you, then you can walk away. I have no problem if people don't resonate or don't like what I do. It's an individual soul sort of choice, you know.
Yeah, that's it. And then another thing, even in our yoga world, healers world, within our business, of course, there's light and dark within that as well. There's some people who truly have the highest intentions for why they're sharing some of these ancient secrets and ancient knowledge, and there's others who are absolute charlatans and using it to be seen as a guru and to siphon off people's life force. Some of them are conscious doing that, some of them certainly are conscious, but that's just where they are on the continuum of consciousness, and they're all perfect experiences from that highest perspective, because often we learn. And sometimes, yes, we engage with people who are chi vampires, we might call it, but we can't blame them either. We chose to give our power over to that. So there is everything that goes on and how it plays out, but certainly within religious realms. And I find this, of course, with those darker beings, the star beings, they're exactly the same as the light beings. They're master metaphysicians. It's just the intention. What's the intention they're using some of these supernatural powers for? So that's all it comes down to. But oftentimes the use of energy and the use of symbols and codes and all of this.
And sometimes, the old school religion has intentionally dimmed people's light to not work with certain energies or to not connect with source in a particular way. So it's not something to be frightened about. It's actually time for us to find our own unique spiritual practice,
Yeah, love it. So, Michael, just to finish off, if you've got any light language that's coming through, take it away, my darling.
So this energy is for the throat chakra, yeah. And this came through in the morning, and I will do a group, I feel, called the Voice of Australia, yeah, because I feel like at this time we are needing to find our individual voices, you know, whatever that may be. So this is, I guess, to release a seal or an energy of suppression around the throat chakra. So all you have to do is really listen to the sound, and if there's any feedback afterwards, you can share that too. But this is going to be just a channeling to release a seal in the throat chakra, okay? Ashkatudore badigundore ge barkata de badagodra barkanta de Shotatek Barakanaka, Tataki, Shanta Tataki, the Verigi, Uragonda de Barakanda Karkandaki, Shibata Darka, the Badanda Katarakandarka, Shondoranda de Shanda de Badegi Bodur Condor Badgia, Shibarigandar, Kibarandar, Kike de Gede Kushkondor Condor Ko Shela Barki. Pargandara kika da ka. So just taking a breath here.
You can do a whole hour transmissions with Michael, and he does a lot of light language, a lot of guidance in English as well. But it's so transformative. It's so magical. So highly recommend if you are aligned to this work, even if it's something completely new for you. That's okay. Just go in with your heart open and just be receptive, because these
people want to, if people want to dip into a little bit of it, if you check out my Facebook, Michael Muir, you can actually there's on my wall, I sometimes post a few little Facebook lives with a bit of transmission in it, and that is a way just to, I guess, feel into it a little bit more before you kind of commit to an hour, if you will,
Yeah. So there's also Michael's website scrolling at the bottom of the screen. If listening later on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's soulmagiccollective.com. Yes, it's not magic, soulmagiccollective.com. Thank you so much, beautiful being. You are just such a treasure, such a gift to us all. I'm sure we could all just listen to the light language for hours and just go, yeah. Because it's helping us all remember who we are as well. That's often how it feels for me. It's like, yes, we're back. But we're here, we're boots on the ground, we're the ground crew, as you said, and let's just, pay our reverence to our star family and all that they're doing to support us.
Yes.
We need them and they need us. It is a collective mission that's happening at the moment. So final words, Michael, before we sign off for today.
Wow. I think just follow your hearts, follow your truth, follow your hearts, be open to the divine showing you the way right now, and trusting that, all of what is unfolding is for a higher purpose. Yeah.
Thank you, soul brother, and I hope we get to have you back soon.
Of course, I'd love to. Take care.
You're welcome, everyone. Bye.